Okay, if you do not believe that immigration, birthright citizenship, and the affordability crisis in this country are not the hottest topics of today, of the Trump administration, after going through the Biden administration, you just lost. You're stuck in a matrix, right? And it becomes a problem for the reasons that are systemically could go back to the whole idea with regards to white supremacy. And why is that? Because America has tried to quell the effects of white supremacy for so long that it has begun to negatively impact the country, and the Democratic Party has found a way to manipulate its way into working for the populace to get a low working class and also a new voter base. So, if you do not know what the Immigration Act of 1965 did, it allowed more immigration to come into this country that didn't have to rely on a quota system. And what you end up having was you had a lot more Chinese Americans or Asian Americans, and you had a lot more Hispanic Americans being able to come into this country without that quota system and being allowed to have some form of status in this country that was legal for them to either stay in this country temporarily, to have legal permanent residence in this country, to gain naturalization in this country, all of that and the such. What has begun to happen after the Biden administration, here we are, we're wrestling with the fact that, hold on, this has happened a little bit too much. You got Gavin Newsom saying that the immigration was wrong. The man who has 39% immigrants in this country working into his labor force. Hillary Clinton just stated that, the open border policy and immigration, we overdid it. This is her own words. We overdid it. That's coming from the Democratic Party, who's admitting to this. The only problem with the whole idea with regards to how Trump is going about it with regards to ICE is a little bit of concern for the average American citizen, which brings into the idea of what is the impact of getting a lot of those individuals up out of here. And let's get into that right quick as we go over here to the lab and see.
Welcome to Batya on News Nation. I'm Batya Ungar-Sargon, and we have a great show for you. Olympic gold medalist Mike Eruzione is going to join us to discuss whether Olympians should be weighing in on politics. We've got a panel of truck drivers to talk about the economy, and Mark McKinnon and Patrick Ruffini will debate the president's poll numbers. But we begin with what we learned about America this week. The January jobs report is out, and it is lit. The U.S. economy added 130,000 jobs last month. Unemployment is down, and the average American's weekly paycheck is up 2% since President Trump took office, outpacing inflation by about $1,200. Trump's economy is starting to deliver, and the secret sauce is actually not a secret. Turns out when you deport 500,000 illegal migrants and 2 million follow voluntarily, companies have to hire Americans. For decades, the elites in both parties shipped good, high-paying manufacturing jobs to China and then imported millions of migrants to compete for working-class jobs here. That absolutely turbocharged under President Biden, who stopped any form of border enforcement and allowed 15 million illegal migrants to stream into the country.
So we're losing jobs, and then you have migrants coming over here coming over here, crossing the border to take jobs away from American citizens at the same time. If that is not concerning, if you're not competing from a global perspective with China, when China is definitely, with the help of the United States, because of the policies of the United States, has definitely become the second world power. If it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for, first of all, the outsourcing and the manufacturing leaving the United States in the first place, the United States was becoming so dependent on other countries for just basic things, even to where we're dependent on, you know, other countries to supply our military equipment. Which, man, my father was one of those individuals who worked for Lockheed Martin, uh, McDonnell Douglas, things of these natures in building warplanes. So these are jobs that necessarily are beginning to be outsourced to places like China. And when you watch shows like Shark Tank, one of the first things they want to talk about on Shark Tank is outsourcing, being able to make the product cheaper in other countries. So, with this happening in combination of immigration, you can begin to see how the real average American citizen begins to feel.
Why did he do it? Because the Democrats' base is the rich and educated, people who want access to cheap labor. The left likes to claim that illegal migrants do jobs Americans won't do. But not a single industry in America has more than a 31% share of illegal labor. Not one. The left supports open borders because the Democrats represent the ownership class, which has been lining its pockets with the stolen wages of their working class neighbors. Of course, throughout the Biden years, the Democrats denied that the border was open.
No doubt about it. Our border is secure.
We agree that the border is secure.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
Yeah, so for any administration, including your administration, but I don't know if you could ever take a look at the pictures of, Border Patrol actually fighting people at the border gates to keep them gates closed and the just rivers of people that was coming over, attempting to get in the United States of America as soon as the Biden administration began to take office. That was when I go back and I look at it, I did not know how serious it was till I actually seen these military members or these border patrol agents begin to actually having to put hands on people who were trying to force their way into the United States. If you have an opportunity to go back and look at that, but I want to stay in tune into what these individuals have to say on this show at the moment.
That was, of course, memory hold when President Trump won the 2024 election, and the Democrats realized that their open border was a loser at the polls. And they needed a way to make you think that they opposed it. So they started to say that, obviously, we should have a secure border. Both parties want that. But you can't deport people who came here illegally. And when it became clear that actually the American people support mass deportations, they changed tack again. Now they say that some tiny amount of people can be deported, the worst of the worst, but no one else, and certainly not anybody undercutting American workers in the labor force.
His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses.
Day laborers, vendors, construction workers, and cooks simply trying to work hard, make a living, and support their families. Does that sound like we're getting rid of the worst of the worst?
The reason you're not going to be able to afford your food is because of these failed immigration policies. And the same can go for the hospitality industries, where we have so many of those in the hospitality industry that are saying they do not have the workers that they need right now.
Hence, we have tariffs. If you don't want to hire American workers, then we're going to tariff you to where you're going to come back to America and you're going to hire American workers to do the job that you are hiring these illegal immigrants to do, or that you are outsourcing to other countries. You can see the play that Donald Trump has definitely set forth when it comes to tariff. Now, the Democrats are fighting the whole tariff idea because if they don't fight this whole tariff idea, then they lose their base, which is, and I'm not talking about their base in terms of voters, I'm talking about their base in terms of being in the rich pockets. The Democrats have got to find its way to working on policy now, and they're not liking it because, accordingly, they don't have policies that work.
What they are admitting when they say that is that the Democrats want to end the deportations for the same reason that Trump is doing them, because illegal migrants make labor cheaper. Jobs Americans won't do was always code for jobs the elites would rather die than do, like cleaning toilets, caring for the elderly, or driving trucks. Jobs which used to pay a dignified wage to millions of working class Americans until they were replaced with illegal labor.
Man, the trucking industry has gotten devastated by it. And it's crazy because when you think about the food industry, the hospitality industry, right? Pretty much the tourist industry, right? The tourism industry in California, Gavin Newsom, while seemingly supposed to provide these individuals with a cheap labor source, have now regulated that the people in these industries who are mainly illegal immigrants in the future, probably I think next year in 2028, 2027, has regulated that the mandatory minimum wage for these individuals be $30 an hour. This has stopped the building of new hotels. The trucking industry has really gone down to where, man, you would rather go instead. Listen, you ask someone to leave their family for days on end. Think about it. And you want to pay them a salary or an hourly wage or per mile that they can just stay home. They might as well just stay home and do. A person wants to have the ability to raise their family, and if they can't do it, if they have to leave their home and can't have the ability to raise their family with a decent wage, when you want them to be away for the amount of time that you want them to be away, just so they can cart stuff from state to state for you, who is one to want to do that for the wages that they were trying to give individuals, just based on the fact that it was so many illegal migrants beginning to get into the trucking industry.
It was always just rank contempt for hard work from those who can't imagine doing it. Joining me now, I am so thrilled to have three truck drivers. Gord McGill, the author of the upcoming book on the murder of the American trucker called End of the Road. Justin Martin, an 18-year supply chain industry veteran. And we are thrilled to welcome back Marcus Coleman, a truck driver and outspoken advocate for a 7-year-old daughter, Delilah, who suffered devastating injuries when an illegal immigrant plowed an 18-wheeler into the car that Delilah was a passenger in. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for being here. Gord, I want to start with you. So there's this narrative from the Democrats that President Trump's policies are actually hurting working class Americans. How do you see it?
I don't see that at all. And in our particular world in trucking, and it's called a sort of one of our colleagues, a gentleman by the name of Craig Faller, calls it the sort of, I think he calls it the compliance bump. So we've seen ICE arresting illegal alien truck drivers in various places around the country, and capacity starting to tighten. And now rates for trucker services are starting to go up. So, I mean, like you said at the beginning, when there's less free or cheaper labor around and they actually have to pay market rates for it, it goes up.
Marcus, I want you to explain to our viewers why the Democrats' current view that, you can deport only the worst of the worst, only violent criminals, why does that miss the mark for working class Americans?
Well, if you look at it like this, if they're only deporting the worst of the worst, there's still an influx of illegal workers that are still here, that are taking jobs from American people. My wife herself is a legal immigrant. She came in the way that she's supposed to, and the job that she has pays a lot more than somebody who doesn't have a working permit or anything like that. So therefore, she's not going to sit there and go down to, you know, low labor rates or under the table rates. So deporting as many illegal immigrants as possible is very important so we can get the market back where it's supposed to be at. The only reason why these people are getting paid low rates is because they can afford to be paid those low rates. They have no choice but to accept that.
Justin, the trucking industry really is a microcosm for everything that's gone wrong for working class Americans over the last 50 years. Tell our viewers a little bit about how.
So pay today for truck drivers is half what it was in 1980 when you adjusted for inflation. that is mostly due to this never-ending supply of drivers being flushed into the nation because of this fake truck driver shortage that's been perpetuated since the 90s. Time and time again, we've seen barriers to entry to many industries be lowered so that the most basic job.
Man, and it seems like, man, women used to love for they dudes to be truck drivers. You know what I'm saying? Like, they used to love that. You know what I'm saying? He come back home, he bringing back all that money, man. Dudes used to be, man, have great living, a great living from driving them trucks back in the day. But man, like I have a Class A, and getting into the industry, it was like, man, you have to go over the road for probably like 2 years before you actually begin to see decent wages, and the wages that they want to give you when it comes to Trump. Now I can do other things. I can weld. I can do some electrical work. I can do solar panels and other things like that. Hell, I low key built this setup in here. So there's a lot of things that I can do. I even worked in the food packing industry myself. So it's crazy how they consistently say that a person who needs an opportunity won't go after that opportunity and have to do what they have to do in order to survive. And this is, if they did it in terms of crossing the border, why don't you give that same respect to the average American citizen, as you say?
Out there that required any kind of skill is now being overtaken by people who shouldn't be in this country in the first place.
Yeah, Gord, we often hear about, the truck driver shortage, but there's no real shortage of truck drivers, is there?
Oh, no, there's never been
No,
one.
not at all.
Statistical CDL data proves it. What's happened is that narrative, even before the flood of migrants from other countries, is it was used to juice CDL mills and truck driving schools in order to deal with the real problem, which is retention. A lot of trucking companies got so big and they couldn't keep employees around because they didn't want to pay them. So they would quit within a year and they had to keep hiring new people. So it sort of became this perpetual corporate welfare program. And when Americans sort of stopped signing up for it, they decided to go overseas and bring people here. And now the trucking industry is almost completely parasitized by these various gangsters who indenture their own people in what amounts to arrangements of indentured servitude to drive truck in the US, and then those guys send all that money home. So when they take our wages, there's a double whammy. Those wages end up as remittances going out of the country. So all this value is just leaving the United States while it's unemploying people who live here.
Now, Marcus,
Donald Trump had a executive order to stop remittances, and that is for them to be allowed to send money back home to the country in which they come from, which takes the money out of the circulation of the United States and pretty much, supports either the cartel at home, which is a concern with regards to national security, but at the same time, you got to believe that it was also to help these individuals' families at the same time, right?
President's poll numbers when it comes specifically to immigration have started to slip. What grade would you give him on immigration?
That's kind of hard for me to say. I've been focusing more on the stuff that's going on with my daughter and stuff like that. So as far as what he's doing, I'd say he's doing the best that he can with the pushback that he's receiving. He's going hard in certain areas. I do think that there's a lot more that can be done. I think it's also one of the things where he's creating. Or he's given us the opportunity to see that what he's doing is working, and I think as he continues to move forward, the market will come back to where it needs to go. As far as a grade goes, I mean, I'd say he's definitely passing for sure.
Hell, I like to say that Donald Trump should name his nickname should be called the Big Squeeze, because if he meant from remittances to tariffs to the current, deportations that are currently happening, even though it could be done in a better way. But what can you expect when you're going after a criminal, right? And that individual is in wherever he's at. Wherever he's at, if you're going after a criminal and he's at, because you know, accordingly, right? And it's not to not have be empathetic, but how would the United States go after anybody else? Just think about that. How would the United States go after anyone else who is, first of all, may be a threat to public safety, but secondly, probably was a refugee and did not report to, for instance, immigration parole, did not report to a hearing. If you didn't report to a court hearing and you had a bond and you made bail and you had to go to court, how would the, bounty hunters come looking for you? You think that they just gonna come and just, they come to get you, bruh. You know what I'm saying? They absolutely come to get you. So how more peaceful they can go about this whole situation, one of the aspects that can happen is, you can knock down the Truth Act. You can knock down the whole idea of sanctuary cities. You can, particularly with the Truth Act, I could say within regards to California, is how these individuals who are going to prison or going to the jail system who has violated the United States citizen or another immigrant, whether illegal or legal, these individuals who do not have the respect enough to stay lawful in this country, you can most definitely start with them working through the jail system. And that's just being real about the situation. You know what I'm saying? I had more than one individual tell me, yeah, look at the change in Minnesota at this point in time as these individuals are allowed to go and get these individuals out of the jail system. And accordingly, a lot of these individuals in Minnesota, the whole riot and protest has slowed down as these individuals are being able to more focus their teams in support of just having one dude go and get a person inside of a jail cell instead of having whole teams that want to go out here, probably of 10 to 8, and want to go out here and to go find these individuals like a bounty hunter would. Dude, that's exactly what it is.
Immigration is working. Do you see a connection between those areas of the agenda and then the wages of working class Americans?
Absolutely. A lot of this stuff has been subsidized. The cheap freight rates, the cost of cheap goods, most of those costs are completely hidden. The cost it takes to move a truck across the country is being subsidized by CDL grant programs, organized crime ring linked trucking companies. As soon as all of those little toys get taken away, costs for them have to go up and they get completely obliterated. But that enables workers here in the U.S. to earn more money.
Yeah, Gord, there's this narrative from the left that tariffs are a tax on working families. Do you agree with that?
The attack on working families has been the attack on my wages. The tariff stuff is extremely marginal. You'll hear people in the trucking industry or who buy truck freight say, "Oh, we can't pay drivers more. That's going to increase the cost of things." But the retail price of a good, the trucking component of that is only between like 1% and 3%. What the real problem is for working people is wages. The tariffs, I haven't even noticed what the tariffs are doing. I've noticed the cost of everything that's been going up since Biden was in office, since Trump won, since forever. It's just been an escalating cost of living. And that's because of these really bad policies towards working class people, towards flooding the place with immigrants, towards just bad economics. And, the tariff stuff is marginal. I haven't noticed it.
Marcus, last time you were here, you told us that your daughter Delilah, who was horrifically hurt in a crash caused by an illegal migrant, that the students in her school staged a walkout, an anti ICE walkout. How did that make you and your family feel?
So it wasn't actually her school. It was the school that my other daughter goes to. It's infuriating. It's infuriating for many reasons. A lot of these kids, and I'm not even going to limit it to the kids, but even to the adults themselves, a lot of them don't even know what they're fighting for. They don't understand it. They're joining these protests because of the hype. They're just kind of jumping on the bandwagon. I would venture to say maybe 80 to 90% of them don't even understand why they're out there. They just see everybody out there creating chaos and being rebellious, and they want to join that. To them, it's fun. I support people that protest whatever it is that they're protesting. That's the great thing about the United States is you're able to do that. There's very few countries that allow you to do that. So, I mean, I support them. I'm all ears if somebody wants to sit down and actually have a conversation with me and be like, hey, this is the reason why I'm against ICE. Okay. And then I'll sit down and I'll say, this is the reason why we're with ICE. We can converse, but all this walkout and not knowing why you're walking out and doing it just to miss class, and you have no real reason why you're doing it. And you're creating this visual that all these people are supporting this when in reality, they're really not. They're just there just to be there. So if you were to sit there and stop and ask, a real student why they're against ICE, I'm pretty sure the answer wouldn't even make any sense.
And we want to pull up the GoFundMe for Delilah for any of our viewers who want to help with her care. She's suffering from real injuries. She lost the ability to speak, and she has to learn how to walk again. And Marcus is so deeply involved in her care. Justin, from your point of view, what's one thing that the administration could do that would make a difference for truck drivers?
So you asked Marcus earlier, like how he would grade the president on deportations. I'd give him C minus, D plus, if that. Too much of the focus is on the individual drivers themselves. These drivers don't exist in a vacuum. Somebody brought them here. Somebody's employing them. If you take out the companies, many of them are linked to foreign crime organizations. That problem goes away immediately, because if they're here in the U.S., no legitimate trucking company is going to hire any of these drivers. So it takes bad trucking companies linking up with bad freight brokers to get freight to hire these illegal drivers. It's you cut off the head of the snake, everything else fixes itself.
Gordo, same question to you. What's one thing the administration could do to improve the lot of truck drivers and make it a middle-class job with good quality benefits and wages again?
I want to agree with what Justin just said, and I would add we need to have much higher barriers to entry. Over the decades, people like the American Trucking Associations and state governments have chipped away at the standards of training and the standards of licensure, of actually getting your truck driving license. And clearly, there are so many people on our roads right now who shouldn't be, because those standards have been reduced. And that's why we have tragedies like what happened to Delilah. We must increase the standards to get CDLs.
Marcus, final question to you. What is your message to Americans who oppose deportations?
Like I've said it over and over again, come spend a day with us. See what it's like to sit here and be with this so-called victim, this crime, and understand what my daughter's going to. And to touch on, the question that you asked the other two gentlemen, I agree with both of them. And I also agree, and I'm talking to Sean Duffy about this, is impounding these trucks for 30 days, $10,000 fine for the first offense. Second offense will be impound and what's called revoking their DOT license. So you got two chances. After that, you're done. If they were to implement this, a lot of these illegal truck drivers would not be in the driver's seats. These trucking companies don't care about the drivers, but they sure care about their truck. So if we take away their truck, the first time, they're not going to be having them in their seats anymore.
Brilliant. Gordon McGill, Justin Martin, Marcus Coleman, God bless and protect you all. Thank you so much for giving News Nation's audience insight that they can't get anywhere else. I'm so grateful to you all.
Okay, so I tend to wonder with regards to this whole issue, with regards to trucking industries being from, crime rings, right? Because that's something that's been in the past for a long time. That's part of the mafia when it comes to Las Vegas, and can't recall names right now, right? But some major mafia figures had built that went missing built their whole business off the trucking industry, the transportation industry. So I just think about that when I had, Gavin Newsom has stopped independent drivers from being allowed to run their hauls in the state of California, all within itself. And that, what Senate bill was that? Senate Bill 5, or Assembly Bill 5, where if you didn't have a broker, you wasn't allowed to run your trucks as an independent business in the state of California. I think they have drawn back on that note, right? But besides that, and when you think about other industry, besides the transportation industry, when you think about other industries that could be affected, like the hospitality industry, and the other service industries, where these illegal immigrants, right, are those people who have unlawfully entered this country, have gotten the permission from the state government, like state of California, who issued these individuals taxpayer ID numbers, which they use as a social security number. They're both 9 numbers, and they able to withdraw the taxes from these individuals for benefiting from their illegal acts of unlawful entry. The state is benefiting from it. And when you have that in a place like a supermajority Democratic state like California, that becomes concerning, especially when California is so hard on immigration that it has become 39% of California's workforce. Just food for thought for today. Tiny Cross-H.U.G on the Trumped Up Live show. I like to dive into a full range of aspects with regards to all this stuff that is going on, because, like I said, unlike anyone else, as a foundational Black American, I have to treat this with importance to my own self, right? With regards to, like I said, I have many skills that I would have liked to go into, and immigration has impacted my ability to get into those fields, right? So much so that I have 3 businesses that I, pretty much go and do so much. So this is not only an impact to me, but this is an impact to, as you see, other citizens within itself. Especially the trucking industry, man. The trucking industry used to be booming. I thought when I got my Class A license, man, I was like, oh yeah, we about to get it in. But nope. Tiny Cross-H.U.G on the Trumped Up Live show. Always remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. And always remember, man, it's a good day to be a soldier.